Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kirbside Network. I'm your host, Jay Kirby. Joined tonight by a fascinating writer, a fascinating comic book creator who is putting out a new series that is almost too perfect for us here at Kirbside. Joining me tonight, Ray Jamison, the author and creator of MadCaps.
Heidi
Ray,
ho.
thank you so much for joining me tonight.
I'm having a good time, man. I'm really excited to talk about the story, and I'm always happy to meet other people on podcasts and just discuss things. It's a good time, man.
No, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. We were talking a little bit beforehand. I get to read issue one of Madcaps. It is, like I said, it's almost too perfect for this show, and we'll get into that here shortly. But before we get started, as always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel so you never miss any of our content. We're doing interviews, we're doing podcasts, we've got a new TTRPG game in the works that will be dropping on April 4th, and we'll tell you all about that later. As always, shout out to our sponsors, Raise Energy, available at repsports.com. Use the promo code Kirbside8 at checkout. Raise Energy, longtime supporter of the show, one of the best energy drinks out there. Multiple health products that they use. They've got protein shakes. They've got my favorites, their pre-workout. It's the right amount of kick and not too much crash. So go check them out. Go use their products. They are fantastic. Once again, that's Raise Energy, available at repsports.com. Use the promo code Kirbside8 at checkout. And tonight we're going to be talking more about gaming. We're going to be talking about tabletop. We're going to be talking about reading. So while you're sitting at your desk or you're sitting on your couch enjoying all these hobbies, you need a snack. You need something delicious and nutritious. So go to our friends at jerky.pro. They have a wonderful assortment of different snacks, jerky meats, jerky flavors. They are absolutely fantastic. We love them. I am partial to their teriyaki flavor, so can't suggest that enough. But go check them out. It's jerky.pro, Kirbside8 at checkout for the promo code to get yourself a special little discount. Of course, shout out to our local sponsors, Collected Comics and Games, I should say. Collected Comics here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There are two locations in Fort Worth and Keller. They have everything a good nerd needs. They've got manga, they've got comic books, they've got dice, they've got minis, they've got everything of your gaming needs and comic book readings. Couple of their books are even behind me on the shelf. A couple of their Funkos are behind me on the shelf. So go check them out. Give them your business. They're wonderful people. They got an awesome crew. So go check out Collected Games and Comics. And coming up, sorry, I almost forgot the dates, but I didn't because it's that important. March 29th and 30th, San Antonio, Texas. Kirbside Network will be at More Phenomenal Con. We cannot even put into words how excited we are for this opportunity. Five different Power Rangers from 4 different seasons and plus 1 Super Sentai actor. We are absolutely ecstatic. That is March 29th and 30th in San Antonio, Texas. Do not miss your opportunity to go to this amazing convention. But with the announcements out of the way, Ray, let's dive into Madcaps. This is, like I said a little bit beforehand, we're a D&D show. We have Dice Hard, which is our D&D stream, our Twitch, our YouTube, our Spotify. We have so many episodes we've been playing for years. This feels like D&D in a book. And that is probably the highest compliment I can give a comic book, is how just so near and dear it is to so much of our audience. That it's literally a D&D comic without worrying too much about the we'll say the legal side.
The copyright.
The copyright.
Yes.
No cease and desist here.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, this book is actually based off of the first homebrew that I ever ran over 10 years
oh,
ago.
all right. Well, now I got to hear
So,
it. Continue,
so
please,
the
please.
only reason that was so special to me is the the I'll do the concise version of the story. I moved across country and I needed excuses to hang out with my friends. I never played D&D up to that point, and I said to everybody, "Why don't we try this out?" So because it was my suggestion, I took on Dungeon Master, and I bit off a lot, but I ended up chewing it all. I didn't bite off more than I can chew, but it was close at times, and it was uh, it was a very special thing for me. So not only did I not use modules, but like since it was homebrew, I made up my own lore, my own history, the cities, the surrounding characters. I didn't draw too much inspiration from anybody that's pre-made something. Um, from then till now, I still run campaigns in that world I created. Like right now, it's been over 2 years. I'm doing one where there's a group, they're stranded on an island. All six of them, they got on this boat for different reasons, and they got on why I don't want to say escape pod, an escape vessel. I guess it's a pod technically. Anyways, they're being chased by pirates. They get on, they leave their main ship, and they crash onto an island. There's a very strong current around the island. And what they find out later is the pirates actually make it on the island too and are still chasing them, and they have no idea. About 6 months later of playing this game, they find out one of the players was the captain who was mutinied, and he's been quiet the whole time. And there's two different factions on the island, and the whole reason there's a current is because around the island has to do with a kraken that has actually trapped drow on the island, and it's got a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening right now. But anyways, going back to the original campaign, that was a very special thing for me. I'm what you would call a hyper extrovert. I love speaking to people. I enjoy company,
You,
and facilitating get-togethers is something I very much enjoy doing. So being a DM was really cool, although it was stressful first time around because of fear of the unknown. Second time around, piece of cake. And the only main difference between that original campaign and the translation to this comic book is I took the main characters that the players are playing as out, and I put in my own characters, ironically, based off of the players. So that was a lot of fun making the characters because it was all I could exalt their strengths, but also, more importantly, exalt their weaknesses, which was definitely a lot of fun. Any of the people I know who these characters are based off of, they read it, they get a chuckle, they definitely appreciate it for what it is. And um, my plan was just to tell this short, almost like a one shot, but broken down into three different issues. And each issue is essentially an act. If you have a one shot, in a lot of cases, some things you have to rush depending on the scale of the severity of the story. But if you do it right, you can fit in three critical things in a one shot if you're going anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And this story, as you said, I'm really happy to hear that from an outside perspective. This feels like D&D. Well, it is. So this story, as you see in the inside of the first page, that passage in black and white where the little half dwarf, half gnome Dunanini, he's talking to his dad and he's talking about why he does these things for his friends. Um, it was a really cool. That's kind of an oversimplification of the type of camaraderie that these friends in the story are supposed to be like. This entire story, if I had to summarize it, it's any adult that doesn't get the see the friends that they usually get to, their very essence at times like longs for that companionship. And when you get to see them, even if it's for a little breath of time, a short little bit, you feel recharged after. Like, I needed that. And this entire story is an homage to that level of camaraderie. So it's just told through a medieval fantasy setting through the medium of a comic book.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And you know, you ain't got to hit me so hard in the chest this early into the interview because I get it. Anyone who's followed the channel knows that our D&D show, you might appreciate this. I don't know if you know this. Our D&D show is called Dice Hard with a Vengeance.
I
Um,
like it.
Thank you. It is the goofiest, most parody-driven name I could think of, but it makes me so happy every time I bring it up. But we've been playing Dice Hard for almost 5 years. Um, we've taken some breaks here and there because life happens,
Hmm.
but the Dice Hard started because, well, Curbside was very, very tiny. I had maybe 10 interviews under my belt, like period. And so I was trying to build the show and I was like, I need something to add. And one of our players suggested playing D&D because it was during COVID and we were just sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, no, I'd love to play D&D. I have the time for it.
Yes.
Um, so we started playing, and then like halfway through the process of getting the game put together, I was like, well, what if we recorded it, put it on the YouTube just
Hmm.
for more content, just to fill some time between interviews and fill some gaps. And we've gone 4 years. People that have been from multiple different backgrounds, from multiple different states. Um, we've all connected over this game and we've all connected over these characters. So we 1000% understand that. Specifically last year, we just about all but I think two of us, all but two of us got to all unite at a convention. And
Awesome.
it was actually our first ever Q&A panel. And so we got to do a Q&A panel about D&D, but four of the players had never met in person. We'd all been over Zoom, over video chat. So the just us coming together was just this awesome moment that your book just strikes a chord with.
Right on. Thank you. One of the things about my book is it's niche upon niche because not everybody likes comic books, and then when you factor that in, well, not everybody likes medieval fantasy in comic books. So my main thing is this isn't my day job. I love my day job, don't get me wrong. I wanted to do this because I needed to get it out of my system. I needed to express it just like a shark needs to swim, essentially. And for you to relate to that, this is the very thing that uh, this is how I've been promoting it to people. And truthfully, and anybody that has friends that they finally get to see again after so long, that's exactly what this book is about. And the way they play off each other, the way they rub each other the wrong way, all the different antics that happen with friends. I one of the most important things that I wanted this story to feel like is I wanted it to feel like the world existed before the story started, and I wanted it to feel like the world will exist after the story is finished. A good example of that is in the first couple of pages of issue one, the larger fellow, Madrakis. He goes on to, at a couple of points, it's inferred that he doesn't have a good history with Ivywood as they're entering Ivywood. Um, some people have asked, okay, well, what's that all about? And if you were actually dropped in the day of the life scenario, you wouldn't get quite everything. Like, granted, maybe when this story's done, and if I expand on it, assuming that it gains traction, maybe I will get into that. But right now, that's not the story. That's just some extra stuff that would happen while everything's going on.
Well, no, I definitely I mean, I picked up on that going in. You know, he's got this panel where it's like, hey, I've been cleared of my charges. I'm like, all right, what happened before? What did he do? Was it a tavern brawl? Did he get a little too crazy with that sword of his? Did you know, he's a dragon person. I'll let you pronounce that properly because
Sure.
I am
So you know
terrible
what?
with
It's funny you mentioned that. His species is actually hard to pronounce. I did that on
Mm.
purpose. So when you look at Madracus, he's large. His mouth is an unusual shape. When you read his speech, any of his dialogue rather, the first time you read it, it's actually a tad difficult to read. I did that on purpose because his mouth is a unique shape. It's not going to be as easy to communicate in the common tongue. So the closest that the common tongue can refer to his species is pronounced uh, wir, W-I-R, but that doesn't quite hit it. So
Mhm.
one of the cool things about him, this species, these creatures, he was hatched as an egg. He doesn't know any others of his kind. He knows a little bit of lore and history. He was raised by humans, but his kind is actually a descendant of a large kaiju-like electric eel called the Great Stormworm that lives out in the oceans. And so that's why when you see later on the issue, you'll see him like he's able to store lightning in his gizzard, like build it up, just
Mhm.
like a snake can store up venom and blah, blast it out or vomit it out in this case. And um, there's a couple of really cool things about him. So because of what his lineage is, where it hails from, he's obviously a hardy specimen. He's over 6.5 feet and he clears 350 pounds. But the most interesting thing about him is actually his brain. So, one thing I hate in storytelling, especially if you have a group of individuals that have to do something of a physical feat, usually adventuring or superheroes is a great example. The big guy is usually dumb and nothing more than a meat shield and the punchline to like dumb jokes. And I just wanted to turn that on his head. So this guy, he's actually highly intelligent. Everybody has flaws. In his case, one of them, everybody has more than one. One of Madracus' flaws is he's not a charismatic individual, and he's not well at reading people. But he is an amateur. He dabbles in the arcane, so I guess you could call him an amateur mage. At one point, you see him grab an undead human by the neck and set its head on fire,
Yes, that was such a
cast it
badass
aside.
moment, by the way, when he catches him through the doorway, and I'm just like, that felt like some paladin smite, which is near and dear to me.
Yeah, well, one of the things that is one, as I said, he dabbles in the arcane. I wanted it to feel like the magic was more natural. For example, if you and I were to start in shot put, it would probably be a struggle to pick up the ball. It would be a struggle to throw it, but after a while, it would essentially be easier to pick up the ball, and you'd be able to increase your distance of throwing it time after time. Good training, good eating, yada yada yada. Well, I wanted the arcane to feel like the same thing in this world. So Madracus, although it's not fully explained in the comic, he can only set things on fire that he touches. So it's not like he can hurl, like in D&D, there's firebolt or fireball, any of those where you can like hurl fire. He's not that strong in that specific discipline of the arcane. So he is a an amateur. He dabbles in it. It's his studies because of a series of unlucky things in life. He hasn't really had the opportunity to hone those skills, but his potential is definitely there. And in issue 2, you'll see a little bit more of that.
No, that's awesome, and I love the breaking of that trope. I noticed that it's early. It's like one of the first maybe 5 or 6 pages where he's like, "I don't want to deal with this. I'd rather just be reading somewhere,
Yep.
relaxing with a good book." And you don't expect this just brick house of a reptile to be like, "Can I get some tea and a good leather bound, please?"
Yeah.
So I can relax. He looks like someone that just be picking up carts for fun. But I like the inversion of that trope.
And also, he wears this ceremonial brass armor. Um, people could easily mistake him for like an adventurer or a mercenary, but at the end of the day, that armor is one of the few tidbits he has about his species. It's ceremonial armor. That sword, he can swing it hard, not skillfully. Obviously, nobody wants to be on the receiving end of him swinging a sword, but it would hurt only if he lined up and hit you. That's the
Mhm.
thing. So he's not goofy and oafish,
Hmm.
but he is not like a hardened soldier or something like that.
Right. He's more of what- he is skilled, not disciplined.
Yeah, within reason. I'd say more gifted
Hmm.
than skilled, but yeah.
Okay. No, I like that, and
Or a good D&D reference, he's got a high strength mod, but the proficiency mod
but
with
the
his sword isn't
proficiency
up
isn't
there.
there. No, that leaves it open for to really dive into that later, either whether it be through like character progression where he gets better and he gets more we'll call it defined,
Hmm.
or maybe he's just one of those characters that just happens to get lucky the whole like he's really strong but like never gets really good at sword fighting. He's just really lucky that wow, he can swing that thing. So it's interesting because we're only in book one. There's room for growth and there's room to explore that.
And another thing to underline,
Mm.
and just the way you worded it, I've never quite organized the thought like this, but this is an individual that is swinging a sword and casting some arcane spell work here. Um, any teenager in high school can go into X amount of sports, but by the time they're in their 25, 30, 35, if they're professional, they're probably doing one discipline.
Hmm.
So one could argue, I wouldn't say crossroads, but you can't be master of everything, I guess is a better way to put it.
Right. Well, a great example because hey, near and dear to my heart. Uh, Almost like a Jedi, where there are different orders where they focus either more on force, more on lightsaber. There's not a lot of middle
Hmm.
ground. You're either an expert in this one or an expert in this one. There's no one that's an expert of everything.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I will say since we've talked about one character, one that stood out to me, especially if any of my players are watching, because not only do I play for Dice Hard, I also DM a game for my friends on the side. Is it? Let me rephrase. Make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Dunnan. Is
Dun and
that
Eni, yes.
Dunnan Eni? Um, Clearly some sort of artificer, and that is
Yes.
a near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite characters that I've played, Quincy, was a gnome artificer.
Yeah, yeah.
So as soon as I started seeing the goggles and the shoulder cannon, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna love this guy."
So Dun and Eni is he's a little bit shorter than a dwarf, and I know we'll talk about the other dwarf in the group. He's a half dwarf. He has a dwarven father and a gnomish mum. He's a little bit shorter than a dwarf, and he can't grow a beard. So um, he draws from both bloodlines, but he has a hard time fitting in with either culture. Because of that, he could consider any friend just as close. He could establish a bond with any friend as close as he could a family member. Dwarves are usually like family, clan, and him not so much, although he definitely respects family and clan. Um, his mother, being a gnome, has some arcane influence on nature. Well, Dunnan appears to have a muddled version of that, where instead of controlling nature, he has a control over metals and crystalline structures. So you already mentioned the shoulder cannon. It's a rigged telescope that can blast raw arcana out of it. So
I like that. I
it's
like
actually
that a
synced up.
lot.
It's synced up to his goggles, so he needs to have his goggles on for it to work. It's got a little bit of minor sentience, so basically it works off of his eyes through gesture and other things. But it will. It's this big ugly. It's not. It's raw arcana. It's not like refined or anything. It's just blah kind of thing. Um, his I guess the best way to put it, because of, uh, well, I already mentioned the lack of beard. He has a hard time fitting with dwarves. He's a lot bigger than any gnome, but he grew up in Ivywood, and essentially he went there for schooling and educational options. and this is where he met his other friends. And actually, you know what, the word madcap, that just means an eccentric individual. Well, Ivywood is, all of these people are not human, and so they kind of stand out. So that's why the madcaps, I chose that word. But Dunn and Eni is really good at get-togethers. That's the best way to put it. So right at the start of this story, he's
Nice.
talking to Madrakis as they're coming in town to meet up with the other two. He's like, they're talking about some type of job, but as the story goes, not much else is revealed because there's an undead outbreak and so forth and so on. But he's a big believer in the individual. One could argue, you could refer to it as the ultimate minority, the individual. Like every no two humans are identical in every which way. I mean, everybody's going to be representative of different groups, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different stuff. Donanini is really good at benefit of the doubt, the human being, regardless of what they may be affiliated with.
No, I really do love that because it's you got to stop gunning for me so frequent because that's so much of my personality is just like you said beforehand. You're very much an extrovert. I am super extroverted. I
Yeah, yeah.
love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love making new friends. And just it's ironic. The two groups that I've played in, we'll say I've played in the most. One is called the Menagerie, which is all of our characters. I think we have two humans out of like seven characters.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a centaur, Goliath, a tiefling, a dragon, or like it's just
A
this
menagerie.
just yeah, it's a menagerie
Yeah,
of
yeah.
just all right, pick a race and it's in there somewhere. And the other one was the anomalies because all of us were so different from one another. We had uh a tiefling that prayed to the moon and actually another tiefling that prayed to the sun. We had an elf that was a rogue, and then a human that was a wizard, and then a gnome that was an artificer. So we were just this mix match of different sides of every coin. So just for lack of a better term, the assembling of just people from different backgrounds and people from all over different cultures is very much reminiscent of myself and my friend groups, especially because I've had to move so much with my 9 to 5 job. So
I
I've
gotcha.
met people from up in New York, from down in Virginia to here in Texas to and Florida. Like I have friends in almost every state. So a character that's like, no, I've got this dragon friend and I've got this dwarf friend, and then there's this scary elf who does a fancy party trick. Like uh I get it of the assembling from different from all kinds of different backgrounds.
One of the interesting things about Dunnan is through his father's suggestion, he took up smithing. And before he left Ivywood, um, basically that's how he stumbled upon this. I have this gift of somehow, of some kind, I'm not exactly sure of it. Um, one personal thing he has is he really likes it when his friends reach their goals. So he's a big fan of that. So, for example, although this isn't described in the comic yet, you've mentioned Madraka's sword. It actually has a name. It's called Urus. It's a Gaelic word which means confidence or audacity, and that sword Dunnan actually made. But
That's cool. I like
that.
that.
There's a whole story behind that. Um, it will not be told in these three issues, but I really like the idea of a person, a people person.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's kind of made fun of, like, "Hey, everything's great. How's everybody doing today?" But at the end of the day, if you have a Ted Lasso in your life, you realize it when he has those heavy impacts on you, and you really realize it when he's not around for a long amount of time. And I really wanted to have somebody like that within the group.
No, I love that. Also, love me some Ted Lasso. So that's a show near and dear the heart. Um,
have you ever taken a Myers-Briggs personality test?
I don't think so. At
Um,
least I don't remember.
look up later,
Okay.
16personalities.com. That's a free one.
Okay.
It's 16 personalities. Essentially, Myers-Briggs, uh, uh, he summarizes that every human being fits into one of these 16 personality types.
Mm,
Mine
okay.
is ENFJ, which is also known as the protagonist,
Okay.
ironically.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I'm very outgoing and stuff. But yeah, Ted Lasso is a great example of a people person. Have you been watching Cobra Kai at all?
No, and I'm so mad because I watched season one when it was on YouTube and I never got caught up when everything moved to Netflix.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
so mad at myself.
Season 4 and 5, in my opinion, are the worst it gets, and that doesn't mean they're terrible. It's just it goes in a slump. Season 6 like really skyrockets. But the reason I bring up Cobra Kai is Daniel LaRusso would be the closest equivalent to Ted Lasso. Not identical, but really good at I need this person to do well. What needs to be said to the person? What needs to be done? What obstacles should be removed from that person so they can excel to that next milestone? That essentially is done in a nutshell.
Oh, I really love that. And I know a lot of people that their entire, I don't want to say their entire personality, but a lot of their motivation is um if actually a shout out to a friend who's hopefully going to watch this later. His name's Curtis. He is host of another podcast that I'm on called Head Nerds in Charge.
Hi,
But
Curtis.
his Curtis, but his entire energy is if I eat, everyone eats. So it's very much if I succeed, everyone succeeds, and if everyone succeeds, then I succeeded.
Just writing his name down.
Yeah, I'll send you his info after.
Sweet.
He's absolutely wonderful. He's a great dude. He's probably gonna love this book. Actually, I'm gonna tell him all
Right on.
about it afterwards.
You can go ahead and forward that book to him as well.
I will. I definitely will. Well, there's definitely two more party members we gotta talk about
Hmm.
because uh there's an elf with an interesting party trick, and then a dwarf with a very interesting job. Um,
Take your pick.
I'm gonna lean towards the dwarf just because I'm
Sure.
pretty sure his name is Sarlacc.
Yep, that's correct.
Yes.
Sarlacc
So,
Swamp Treasure.
as a Star Wars fan, I saw Sarlacc and I was like, yes, let's
I get that
go.
once in a while. He is not a gaping, viney sphincter in the sand.
Well, that's good. That's
Like
good.
the
You know,
Sarlacc bit.
you
But
don't
yeah,
want that out of the party cleric.
I don't know. That would be a pretty cool monster to have in tow, though.
It would
Just
be
following behind casually. Hey guys, that would be really funny. I'm all in now.
right.
But yeah, Sarlacc Swamp Trudger, his people, his specific group of dwarves, they left the mining life and they wanted to farm. Essentially, mining proved to be difficult when you didn't have a lot of access to food in the area. As stubborn dwarves go, being stubborn dwarves, they decided to start farming in a swamp. And generationally, over time, they have been able to terraform their land out and drain the swamp area and make it fertile land. Well, because of that, and being it a fantasy setting, as you can imagine with swamplands, culturally, these dwarves have learned how to um, track and pacify things that go bump in the night. So he would be the closest equivalent to a skilled fighter, but again, it's still unorthodox. Uh, this would be the equivalent of a guy that hunts polar bears up in the Arctic and then throwing him in the octagon. That's not the same thing. But with monsters, he's definitely in his element. Now, um, he also, at the same time, he's felt he has a calling. He worships something known as the divine, And he's not a fan of forcing his beliefs down anybody's throat, but he was compelled to move into Ivywood, erect a humble church, and help those less fortunate than him. There are times where he is in the city being a good influence, and then there's times where he's outside of the city trying to do things right by the city, be it bandits taking out mercenaries or some type of creature slaughtering cattle or something to that effect. The closest D&D equivalent to this guy, background, well, dwarf is obviously the race. Background would be like an acolyte, and then if I had to give him a class, if I had to fit it in the D&D box, it would be a multi-class of ranger and cleric.
Okay, nice. It's a good combo.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix. I really like Sarlacc.
You brought up the fact that he's trying to do right by the city. Like that's how he kind of gets dragged into all this. He's
Yes,
just chilling at work. He's just at work, his 9 to 5, trying to help some unfortunate idiots out. And he's like, "Well, I did the best I could," and then here comes trouble knocking.
everything hits the fan. One of the coolest things about Sarlacc, Madrakis and Sarlacc at a healthy level, they'll rib each other once in a while. So when all four of them do get back together, they're at what's being referred to as a harvest gala, and Sarlacc is there giving food, and Madrakis walks up, hasn't seen Sarlacc in a while, and says, "You look a little underdressed," just kind of teasing him. Here we have Madrakis all armored up, saying that to Sarlacc, who's just in essentially a robe, and then everything hits the fan. Dunnan at one point says, "Do you feel underdressed now?" And he says, "You never leave," because he pulls a hatchet out. He has a hatchet at least. He says,
Never
"Never
leave
leave
home
home
without a
without a
good
good
axe.
axe." Yeah. For personality for Madrakis, the a really simplified explanation for him is a long fuse to a large cannon. So he means well, but if he's going to swing the axe, he's going to swing it hard. We'll put it that way. It's
No,
not his
I
first option though.
right. No, and it's clear, especially with the I'm not trying to give too many spoilers away,
For
but
sure.
with the door scene, he's very much like a, oh, what's going on? He is the opposite of Drac, who's just like, all right, someone's coming through the door. Too bad for them. Like
Madrakis, interesting thing about Madrakis, because of some unfortunate events in his life, if he has an opportunity to vent frustration, he's not a head case. He doesn't have like excessive anger issues, but if there's a time he gets to vent said frustration, sure. So at that point, when the door's getting opened up and one of the monsters jumps at him, he's ready. He's like, I need this therapy. So again, he's not a fighter, but okay, I'm going to set this thing on fire. Like I just want to, and he does.
monster attacks. Oh no, whatever shall I do?
He was ready.
um and then of course it'll be interesting to see more from Sarlacc. He seems to be the for lack of a better term, not quite the leader, but the most level-headed one, maybe like the, we'll call him the moral compass of the group.
Um, well, in regards to lifestyle, he's the most consistent. He's the most content with himself. Um, each one of these individuals, they all have one. For one way or other, the theme of each one of them is where do I fit in the world? And out of the four of them, although Sarlacc is a dwarf in a city that's predominantly human with a little bit of orc, um, he shrugs off anything to be, if someone were to make fun of him for being a dwarf, that's not a big deal. He has the maturity and the serenity to be content with where he is, where everybody else, in one form or another, the theme is how do I fit in the world and where do I not fit in the world? It sometimes is a better question to be asked. So
Yeah, no,
Sarlacc is a really good anchor for just stability and comfortability.
yeah. And then the final party member, uh, where do they fit in the world is an excellent segue because and I'm going to botch this poor name and I'm sorry. Is it Chasgo or is it Chasgo?
Chasgo, yes.
Chasgo. Okay.
Chasgo Blundale.
Uh, an elf with a very interesting background, to say the least.
Um, yeah, you know what? I actually have, I'll share it with you here.
Oh, here, let me
Um,
allow
I guess this is
you to
where edit
share.
part
No,
happens.
you can I can hit this little magic button and you can share your screen
Okay, I'm going to
and
share my
show whatever
screen.
you'd like to share.
Um, Windows. Um, all right. Can you see? Okay, good. I'm going to
Hmm.
go back to here. This all gets edited out. Okay, so I'll share this for you guys here. A good this is a good segue for Chasgo. There we are.
Honestly, that was one of my favorite parts with him. Is that you can talk to me or the dwarf. The dwarf, please.
So that was the Kickstarter for the first issue, of course.
Nice.
I'll stop sharing that.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
Chasgo Blundale. So Chasgo's people, they're a specific type of elf known as Argers. Argers live out in a mountain range that is predominantly like riddled heavily with deposits of silver. In real life, when humans, if they consume a lot of silver, it actually tattoos their cells. They turn blue. There's one guy, he was on Oprah 40, basically looks like Papa Smurf because he's older,
Wow.
he's got a white beard and stuff. But
Mm.
they actually turn blue. Um, Chasgo's people, Argers, have a similar effect. They're that exposed to silver at all times. And of course, because it's fantasy, Chasgo is actually all this silver in his veins makes him highly resistant to magic. Chasgo's people would be considered what we would consider xenophobic. They're not a fan of outsiders. And they actually view magic as an abomination. And in their muddled beliefs, they believe worshiping the mountain is what grants them their immunities to all these said abominations, these magics. And Argers are the kind of individuals that kids make scary bedtime stories over. Chasgo, he viewed his people as dysfunctional and he didn't want to live there anymore. But when you're an Arger, where else do you go? Anywhere else, you're going to be killed on sight. He was actually visited by an entity only known as Annette, and she wanted to make him a champion in order for Argers to blend in with the rest of the world, to go out and leave the mountains. They need a place to that would accept these individuals. So she decided to make him his champion. Now, very much like how the Venom symbiote is able to bypass Peter Parker's spider sense the first
Hmm.
time it bonded, she was able to bypass the silver and grant him some magical abilities. So, one of them, the most important one for him in order to survive out in the world, in this case Ivywood, is he's able to change his appearance. So he goes by this human known as Zeno Aferin, which he's been there so long and established himself for so long. He's actually worked his way up. He's a representative of the noble in Ivywood. It's kind of you're dancing on a knife's edge because if he was ever exposed, he'd be killed on sight. Especially if you're close to people of importance in a city, the higher up you go in that scenario, guards are going to be killing you like right away, no questions asked. The only people that know who he is essentially are these three other individuals in the story. Um, Chasgo, unlike Madrakis, who embraces his difference because he can't really hide it, or unlike Sarlacc, who shrugs off the shallow stuff that he's not really sensitive to, um, and just establishes himself through his actions and earns respect to his surroundings. Unlike Dun and Eni, who struggles with establishing who are my people because he's one of two different lineages and having these unique gifts. He can't relate to anybody. He picks his family essentially. He doesn't pick his blood, but he picks his family. Chasgo is, I don't have family. I don't have people I can really confide in except for three individuals. He's very very reserved and he's a very careful individual. So in the very first issue, we're going to be launching for issue 2. You can get 1 and 2 in this new Kickstarter. In issue 1, I have no problem talking about it in deeper detail because it's been around for a bit now. But um, when that first undead outbreak begins, Chaz goes stuck. He says, if people see me actually helping, it goes completely against this persona I've put on. I can't help you guys. So he ends up leaving after Sarlacc says, okay, you go and get backup. We're going to just get this as it's going. Fortunately, Chazgo is able to help just before his three friends are about to be killed. But Chazgo is very unique in that respect because anybody that he would get along with is hinged on knowing who he is, which limits his lists very much. So one thing his goal appears to be, and some of my friends have referred to him as being kind of sketchy, but some people have inferred that, or speculated rather, that his goal might be if he can get close enough to a noble and befriend him deep enough, if he can confide his identity, that may be an option to get other Argers to leave the mountain. So I thought that was a very clever conclusion. I haven't confirmed or denied that, but it's he is the, like I said, the most reserved and the most mysterious because he holds his cards close to his chest. Um, in the first issue, you don't get to see him do a lot of like cool fighting or anything like that. But that scene that I had animated with voice actors from California, you can see he has really good influence in other ways, which I'm a big fan of.
No, it's a fascinating character because it's not a lot of, we'll call them the caster characters.
Yeah,
Their go-to answer is, well, I'm just going to magic my way out of this. And so,
Fireball.
yeah, fireball. I don't care how big the room is. I cast fireball.
Right.
And for him, he can't. He may be the most proficient out of his friends, but he can't do that. He can't go to the, we'll call it the classic go-tos. He's got to be more cautious. Like you said, the scene where he's, you know, what do I do to help? Well, you can help by going to get backup. You can go get reinforcements. Because otherwise, we're gonna have more problems. Is an interesting, kind of I want to say the word conflict for a character. I really love it's a very subtle little panel that you have, but I really love the him scaring the hell out of the prisoner, then walking by Drac, just be like, "Hey, good on him, right? Right? I knew that would work." Like you can see the little troublemaker coming
uh,
out, and
on
it's a
the
really cool moment.
the page before that, one thing Chasco Madrakis definitely relate to a lot on is um, they don't like waste of things. That doesn't necessarily mean time, movement. I don't want to exhaust through all this formality of speech just to get the person to conclude and talk to me. So in that scene, when you see Sarlacc speaking to the person right at the start there, you can see in the background the two of them motioning to each other like they had this plan out, and it turned out to be good cop, bad cop, worse cop. What the person didn't
Right.
realize, he didn't realize that Sarlacc wasn't, or he thought Chazko was gonna, or in this case, Zeno was going to be the good cop, where Madrakis was the bad cop. But in reality, he didn't realize he already talked to the good cop, and he was about to see worse cop, which was when he took his appearance off. And oh my God, it's one of them. I've never seen one of you before. Get away from me, kind of thing.
Right. It very much. All right, I'll talk. I'll talk. I promise.
Yes.
It was just that one panel of them face bumping that. Hey, it worked. I was like, oh, I like you too. Like if that had happened at a table, my character would probably, depending on which one, probably been mad, been like, really, that was your plan. But me as the player would have lost my mind. I would have been laughing hysterically, be like, oh my god, that was beautiful. But you have four very different, for lack of a better, very different characters from super different backgrounds, not just the race, but like from, you know, the noble, the fighter, the arcane metalsmith. All these four backgrounds, bringing them together is such an interesting, it's an interesting concept, and then it leads into a good story as well, of these four, I don't want to call them outsiders, these four misfits that have just found themselves, um oh my goodness, the best example, it just clicked in my brain. It's literally the movie Four Brothers, where it's these four very very different personalities, but that, and none of them are actually related. They're all adopted by the same old lady, but they're all four brothers, and they're all going to do whatever it takes to help their family,
Yeah, yeah.
whether
That's a
it's
good way of putting it.
whether it's the conventional definition of family or one that they define themselves. And it's so fascinating to me personally. And I think these characters in this story could really be fascinating to more people. And I hope that more people get a chance to read this and follow these characters, follow this fascinating story.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Mm. Sorry, I gotta get myself a drink. So, um, I'll ask before we start winding down here, because we've been going a while. Where do you see, without spoilers, because where do you see this series going? Do you want it to be, because I know you mentioned like a 3 book series. Are you looking to do three and done? Are you doing a main 3 books and then maybe some spin-offs here and there? Where's the goal for the, we'll call it the franchise overall?
My main goal is, first and foremost, is to get issue 2 out of the way. So I already had the script written for all 3 issues before I began. Excuse me. My goal right now, I want issue 2 to hit and hit hard. It's a good time. Um, Once 2 is done, I'll focus on 3 and get it produced. I already have 3 covers done for issue number 3. When that's done, I'm heavily considering going the trade paperback route. I want to give a shout out to Philip Russert and Filbo Publishing. Um, they have recently this year gone into distribution. The head honcho for comic distribution is traditionally Diamond. Diamond is, I don't want to use the word monopoly, but I'm going to use it anyways. They have a monopoly on who gets into local comic shops nationwide. So Phil Russert has decided to start his own distribution, and he's already made contacts with various shops between Canada and the United States. He's out in New York. Um, my trade paperback, I'm going to be having that distributed. So you can actually find it at a local comic shop. There'll be all 3 issues put together. It's going to be a lot of magic and nothing short of that. I say that. I think it's going to be a really good time. The one thing I can't control, this is my first time writing a comic book, but the one thing I can't control, it's up to the reader to decide if I'm a good writer. I can't influence that. One thing I could do is I could surround myself by a lot of talent. Um, Dan Kemp, my colorist, I was telling you in the green room earlier.
Yes.
Dan Kemp has colored over 100 issues of Spawn from 50 to 150. He's colored Marvel Knights back in the early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s. If you know that controversial 2003 Daredevil movie, just before the credits drop, Ben Affleck jumps off the building and he throws his baton and all the cable all swirls around him. That's an homage to Marvel Knights Daredevil #1 from '98 or '99. Dan Kemp colored that cover.
Nice.
Um, I've got many different artists that have colored various different covers for me. In issue 1, the fellow who painted the cover or the cartridge art to the original Shinobi for the NES, he did a cover for me, painted Matrakas in all its glory. It is beautiful. A lot of these pictures I'm describing, you will be able to get on also as t-shirts and also plush tapestries, aka blankets, but it looks cool hanging on your wall as well. In this Kickstarter, this campaign launching on April 1st till April 30th, you'll be able to dive right into it and get all of this cool stuff. There's also, because this is a D&D podcast, there's also the ever so lovely level 5 character sheets of all these characters you'll be able to buy.
Oh.
So you'll be able to be Jazzgo, you'll be able to play as them. They're great for one shots. Um, I'm just super excited to be able to share this with people. To have all of this stuff and not be able to share it, I've said this on other podcasts, it's torture. I mentioned I already have covers for issue 3 done. Yeah, they're not going to see the light of day for like 12 months. like I'm beside myself. I feel like there's the camera limit right there. I feel like I should have a cover like right there and like, yeah, it's right there. You can't see it, you know? But could I share some pictures here?
Yo, please do.
I'm gonna show all the covers
Yeah, please do. No,
for issue #2.
I definitely, while you get this loaded up, oh, I love that. I love that so much.
This is the main cover for issue #2. Every cover I attempt to have it portray something that's happening in the story.
Mhm.
I like the old traditional comic books and an extreme. You'd see something like in Amazing Spider-Man, one of the issues, Spider-Man is helping Doc Ock escape a bank with a bag full of money. And it'll say, why is Spider-Man helping Doc Ock? Come into or open the pages and find out. Now, I don't have any words saying those things, but I wanted the imagery to reflect what's going on. In this case, at the end of issue 1, when they're actually able to intercept some smugglers, they get some information. They're actually able to find the home residing of the distributor of this drug weave. And so you see them here walking into this path. It's obviously got a lot of overgrowth, and there's not a lot of traffic going through it. But as you would find in any story of individuals that are holding illegal product, if you've got mass quantities of it and a lot of money going through, you're probably going to have some hired muscle. And unfortunately, I can't say anything else about that. But Kenny Calderon drew this, and Dan Kemp, as I already mentioned, he colored this. The combination of their skills it really, really looks like its own thing. I didn't want this to feel like Superman with a clock attached to it, or toaster with a clock, as they say. I didn't want to feel like it's like that, but a little bit of this as well. I wanted to try my best, although maybe some people can draw some minor parallels to things. I wanted it to feel like, well, I've never seen that before. Let's see what's past the cover, right? Should be able to. There we go. This is a stained glass
Nice.
interpretation of something Sarlacc does in this story. He finds a book. I that's all I can say, but it is a critical part in this story. One of the coolest things about this one is it's limited edition and it's metal foil covered. So that metal foil is going to make that stained glass pop.
Really pop.
Jenna
Yeah.
Stark from New York, she drew this all up, and Dan Kemp's brother Dave, he did all the coloring. I think the metal foil on top of that is going to just be gorgeous. On social media, I released this image on a reel, and I put in the bridge to Like a Prayer with the choir version with Deadpool and
Nice.
Wolverine. It's like,
Nice.
I hear
Very
your
well done.
voice, and it's all like sparkly and stuff. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback with this one as well. One of the things I really like what Jenna did is the logo with that bloom. She made that part of the stained glass beam design. It just
Yeah.
it's so nicely um, so nicely just jives together. I got three more. Here's Madrakas. Now, here's something you haven't seen Madrakas do yet, but here's him using some arcane ability, pulling Earth upward. The image speaks for itself after that. I don't have to say anything
Oh,
else.
very much so. The, there's there's no words needed on this one.
This was drawn by Rod Ramos Rodolfo in Brazil, colored by Dan Kemp. And one of the really cool things about Madrakas, he seems to be a fan favorite. We were talking Power Rangers before we started recording,
Yes, yes.
and
That's a near and dear to this show.
Madrakas is comparable to the original Green Ranger. He does a lot of
Yes.
cool things. Very seldom does the big finishing blow, but everybody loves him for all the cool things he does do leading up to that point. And yeah, there. I mean, I just wish I could say more, man. Two more images. Here we have Dunanini surrounded by the undead. This was drawn by Russ Leach of the UK. Russ Leach, side note, he has a story he's been drawing. Issue 2 of The Atlantean is coming out. Now, The Atlantean is one of the stories that was the basis of inspiration for things like Conan.
Oh, nice.
So if you're looking for somebody that I think that would fit somewhat well because it is a fantasy setting story, look up Russ Leach. This was colored by Dave Kemp. Um, I just love all the little different details in this. The longer you look at it, the more questions you have, and your eyes search for those answers. And as you can see, Dunanini setting off his magic telescope, blasting off an arm of a creature holding his. I also love, I'll zoom in here for a second, the separation of that jaw from the hammer.
Oh yeah, nice.
But there's so much going on in that picture. It's beautiful. One coloring effect I really like that the Kemp brothers do is they know when to take color away of certain points to focus the eye even more into the center. And you can see that effect here, and it's beautiful. And then lastly, we have Chasgo.
Ooh,
Now,
very, very nice.
this is drawn by Jay Sloan. Jay Sloan did all the concept sketches in issue 1. So when you see all those black and white sketches, all those bios, that's all his work. I feel to this date, I think I don't have a favorite artist who draws things the best, but I can say without hesitation that Jay draws Chasgo the best. And when you see him in the concept art, he has this resting scowl face, I'll call it. And here, the reason the relevance of this cover is in the issue, you actually get to meet this pet of his. Its name is Emix. It's a white, sorry, it's an albino crow with 3 eyes. And
Oh,
here
nice.
you see him just sitting there milling about his thoughts. And it's actually, you don't know if he's sad or just thinking, but you definitely get the feeling of solitude in contrast with this pet keeping him company. But this was also colored by Dave Kemp. I didn't give a lot of color options for Dave for this one because he's predominantly blue and I wanted the nighttime feeling. But even then, these two talents just knocked this out of the park. It's just a beautiful image. And
The these covers are absolutely gorgeous. I love the Chaz with the same stained glass behind him that you see kind of you get to see Sarlacc in the stained glass, and then you get to see the stained glass window behind Chaz is a really nice touch.
And then the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say, just to promote my Kickstarter coming up a little bit more,
Yes,
you'll
please.
also have the option for all you artists out there, and this is a common thing in the comic industry, but anybody that likes fantasy, you also there's a sketch cover. It's a blank cover that you can actually draw your own thing on it. So if you feel inspired to make your own cover out of it, it is an option on there. So it will look like this. The title will be green. The title for issue 1 was orange, and I think I'll go purple for number 3 just to have all the secondary colors. But
Nice. Good
um,
choice.
in the tabletop RPG communities, there's always artists drawing their characters and stuff. So you'll definitely have this for an option for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So before we wind down here, where can the wonderful people of the internet find you? Where can they find your fantastic comic book? Where can they find your Kickstarter?
For sure. So if you followed only one thing, the one thing you want to follow is the Kickstarter coming up on April 1st. Every time somebody follows that link before it launches, it sways the algorithm in the favor of the project. So if you don't think of anything else, just follow that. Look it up. MadCaps is one word. Just type in the MadCaps number 2. You will see it. You'll be able to purchase issue 1 and 2 to this 3-part mini-series. You will be able to find me, well, I'll do Facebook first. You can find me as DM Ray. DM just means Dungeon Master. You can find my MadCaps Facebook page as well, of course. You can also find me on Instagram, and I use this joke a lot. You can find me on Twixter, I like to call it, because it's got an X in there somewhere, apparently. But under Instagram and Twixter, I'm known as Raymond the DM. DM Ray was taken, but you can find me on any of those pieces of social media. But for sure, that Kickstarter pre-launch page, if you can light up that notification button, you will be doing me a world of favor, even if you just liked what you saw, but it's not in your budget right now. That little button alone, you will be helping me get more exposure out for this project and getting this, what I feel is an okay story, out for people to enjoy.
Thank you so much. Uh, I'm excited to see what happens in 2. I'm excited to see what happens with these characters. It's been an absolute blast having you here on the show. Let me switch off this view just real fast. There we go. As we wind out. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show, Ray. It's
Thanks, man.
been an absolute honor talking about these characters that really can be near and dear to people's hearts. I know a couple of these hit close to home for me, so I can only imagine what some other comic book readers, TTRPG players, like I can only imagine how many people could connect with characters just like this, and how
Right on,
many
man.
people have D&D characters or Pathfinder or whatever their tabletop choosing is, but how many people out there could have characters that are just like this, that they are like, oh my gosh, that's my person. Oh my gosh, that's this character just on a book, in a story. So absolutely wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much for sharing this wonderful little project that you're working on right now. And I can't wait to see more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks for watching. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube and our Twitch channels, because we are in fact starting up the Twitch streams again. More interviews coming throughout the year, of course, but the big announcement, starting April 4th on our Twitch channel, we are starting a Lord of the Rings tabletop game.
Ooh, deadly.
Oh, we are so excited. We're in the pre-production stage of it. We are getting ready to drop this thing April 4th, which is a Friday night, DM'd by our wonderful dungeon master Tim from Dice Hard. A couple familiar faces and a couple new ones for people who follow Dice Hard, for people who followed Renegade Rangers. Like I said, couple familiar faces, couple new faces. So please tune in for that. Please go check out MadCaps by Ray here. And once again, this is a big announcement. More Phenomenal, March 29th, March 30th, San Antonio, Texas. Do not miss out on this awesome con. We have, and I'm going to get the little logo up in the post-production here, but we've got Time Force, sorry, not Time Force, Lightspeed Rescue Titanium, Ninja Steel Blue and Pink, Space Yellow,
Oh
and
wow.
SPD Yellow, and then the Super Sentai Red Ranger for the RPM series. Do not miss this con. It is going to be wonderful. We are so excited to go down. Most of the Kirbside Renegade Rangers are going to be there. Myself, Cody, our Blue Ranger, and Reese, our Pink Ranger, are all going to be there. Don't miss your chance to come see us, to come see this con. And please go check out MadCaps, Facebook, Instagram. Support the Kickstarter. Support your small local businesses. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you for stopping Kirbside.